At 6:12 local time, the Caribbean looks almost unreal, flat, bright, and silent. The flight deck of the U.S. aircraft carrier stretches across the water as the ship cuts a steady path forward, leaving a long white wake behind it. There are no raised voices, no visible rush, only the deep vibration of machinery pushing thousands of tons of steel along a fixed course. Then, on radar, something appears that does not fit. A small surface contact shows up near the edge of the screen. No AIS. No flag information, no cooperative signal, only a bearing, a speed, and a track moving toward the outer perimeter of the carrier group. New surface contact, bearing 241. The report is calm. It has to be. Inside the operations center, screens update second by second. The range begins to fall. The speed comes in higher than expected for a civilian vessel in open water. Its movement does not match the traffic patterns recorded during the last 12 hours. It is not behaving like a fishing boat. It is not simply passing through. It is moving with intent. Another update follows. Contact maintaining course, CPA decreasing. The closest point of approach is now under 10 nautical miles. On the bridge, no one panics. The captain does not need dramatic gestures. The information is already flowing in from multiple sensors, checked and compared by watch teams who have seen thousands of contacts before, and who know when one feels wrong. A message is sent out. Unidentified surface vessel. This is a United States naval vessel operating in international waters. Identify yourself. No answer. The contact keeps coming. At this range, visual systems begin to sharpen the picture. Electro-optical sensors focus in, and the shape on the screen looks ordinary at first. Steel hull, low freeboard, rows of containers stacked cleanly on deck. From a distance, it could pass as another cargo ship crossing the blue water, but the details do not line up. It is moving too fast for the load it appears to carry. Its heading does not match normal commercial routes. Most importantly, it is not adjusting away from the carrier group. It is holding course. A second message is sent. Still no response. The bridge remains controlled and quiet. Condition 3 is ordered without drama. It is not a show of intensity. It is preparation. Key stations are manned. Systems are brought fully awake. From the outside, almost nothing changes. Inside the ship, everything becomes sharper. The contact closes inside 8 miles. Helicopter crews begin their checks. Not because anyone expects immediate confrontation, but because distance at sea disappears quickly. Information matters. Presence matters. Waiting too long can remove choices before anyone realizes it. Another update comes from the operations center. Contact speed increasing. The carrier does not change course. Neither does the vessel. That is the moment the situation stops looking like a misunderstanding. It starts looking like a choice. The contact pushes past 20 knots. For a ship of that size and outline, that is not casual movement. Its engines are being driven hard, and fuel is being burned for a reason. A third message goes out, shorter and more direct. You are approaching a United States carrier group. Alter course immediately. Nothing comes back. The ship's bow cuts through the water without hesitation. From the helicopter feed, smaller details become visible. Heat blooms unevenly along the hull. Stronger signatures appear near the stern, where the engines are working hard. Nothing spectacular. Nothing that proves anything by itself. But to trained eyes, it says enough. This vessel was not built to sprint. Yet it is sprinting anyway. The closest point of approach drops below 5 miles. Escort ships adjust their spacing, not aggressively, but with precision. The geometry changes. The open ocean begins to feel like a narrowing corridor shaped by steel, distance, and intent. Inside the operations center, the track is reclassified. This is no longer treated as routine traffic. It is a non-cooperative vessel, choosing speed over instructions in the shadow of a U.S. aircraft carrier. No one needs to say it out loud. Everyone in the room understands. The captain finally speaks, his voice steady. Hold course. Maintain recording. Every radar sweep is saved. Every heading change is logged. Every second becomes part of the record. Out here, facts matter more than noise. The vessel shifts slightly, then corrects back again. A test, a probe, a search for space. There is none. At 4 miles, the carrier's shadow stretches across the water. Sailors on deck can now see the ship with their own eyes, dark against the glare, still moving, still silent. This is the moment when it could turn away. It does not. Instead, the bow rises just a little higher as its speed builds once again. Inside the operations center, someone notes the exact time. Whatever comes next, this is the point where the run truly begins. The increase in speed is not sudden. It builds step by step. Half a knot, then another, then a steady climb beyond what the vessel's profile should reasonably support. On the displays, the numbers settle into something that cannot be ignored. Contact now, making 22 knots. For a container ship riding that low in the water, that speed makes no commercial sense. It is not efficient. It is not routine. It is costly, noisy, and impossible to maintain for long. Which means the people controlling that vessel have already decided the price no longer matters. The carrier holds its course. The escorts do the same. No one gives chase yet. This is not a race, it is containment. The contact angles slightly to port, just enough to suggest it is trying to slip past the outer screen. The move is not dramatic, but it is intentional. A civilian ship avoiding traffic adjusts early and gives plenty of room. This one waits too long, then turns late. The geometry tightens. One escort adjusts speed by a fraction, not to close the distance, but to take away an exit. Another remains positioned near the vessel's projected path. From above, the scene would look controlled, balanced, almost routine. On the bridge, a watch officer speaks calmly. He's looking for daylight. There is none. The vessel's route now matches something familiar. Intelligence overlays confirm it. The bearing lines up with a known corridor, often used by fast, uncooperative traffic moving north through open water before blending into legitimate coastal shipping. It is a route built around one idea: disappear inside the crowd. But that only works if the ship reaches the crowd. The contact pushes harder. Exhaust thickens behind the stern, visible even in the bright daylight. On infrared, the engine spaces glow unevenly, heat spreading where machinery is being forced beyond its normal range. This does not look improvised. It looks prepared. On the carrier deck, helicopter rotors begin turning, not in a way meant to create a scene, just enough to be ready. The aircraft lifts cleanly and holds altitude, staying at a measured distance. Presence without pressure. Another message is transmitted. Final warning. Again, there is no answer. The vessel does not weave. It does not make sudden, unpredictable moves. It holds speed and heading like a driver committed to a risky pass with no room left to change their mind. Inside the operations center, the track history stretches across the display. Every correction is plotted, every second is recorded. CPA now under 3 nautical miles. At that distance, the situation has no easy explanation left. The vessel is not lost, it is not confused. It is choosing to move inside the operating space of a U.S. carrier group. The escorts shift again, subtle but final. Not a wall, a funnel, angles close. Lanes narrow. The open ocean becomes a problem with fewer and fewer possible answers. From the helicopter feed, the vessel's deck becomes clearer. Containers stacked neatly, too neatly. No visible crew moving topside, no signals, no signs of the rushed activity expected from a merchant ship suddenly realizing it has entered a serious situation. That absence says a lot. Ordinary crews react, prepared crews wait. Then the contact makes one more correction, sharper this time. A late attempt to cut across the screen. It is the first real sign of urgencies, and it comes too late. The destroyer ahead of the vessel's path stays exactly where it is. Another escort shifts just enough to close the angle. No sirens, no flashing signals, nothing dramatic, just steel positioned precisely where the vessel hoped open water would be. The carrier's captain does not change his posture. "Continue recording," he says again. This is not about forcing a stop yet. It is about proving intent, about allowing the contact to create its own record through speed, course changes, timestamps, and every decision it makes. The vessel reaches 24 knots. For a few seconds, it almost looks like it might try to force its way through the gap. The engines roar under the strain. Heat signatures flare across the infrared feed. Then reality catches up. The distance is not opening. It is closing. Fuel burn rises. The sea begins to work against the hull. Every wave takes energy. Every correction steals speed. The run is becoming too costly to hold. The helicopter drops lower, still offset, still controlled. Its sensors stay fixed on the vessel, watching the small signs of stress. The uneven vibration through the hull, the changing shape of the wake, the slight stutter of power being pushed too far. Inside the operations center, the final assessment comes in. This vessel cannot maintain that pace. And it does not need to. The carrier group does not have to chase it down. It only has to wait. Because once a run begins inside the screen, there are very few ways for it to end. The decision comes quietly. No announcement, no dramatic signal, just a shift in formation that tells everyone watching the same thing. The run is over. Inside the operations center, the vessel's speed begins to fall. Not suddenly, just enough to matter. 24 knots becomes 22, then 20. The strain is catching up. Engines push beyond their normal range, rarely give up all at once. First, they start losing ground. "That's it," someone says under their breath. The carrier never changes course. It does not have to. One escort eases forward, not to pursue, but to occupy the space the vessel was depending on. Another holds off the stern quarter, far enough to avoid raising the temperature, close enough to make the situation clear. There are no real options left. The helicopter descends another 100 feet, still offset, still professional. Its presence is now impossible to miss, but it remains measured. The sensor package stays trained on the contact, sending clean imagery back to the operations center. The deck layout sharpens on the screens. False panels where cargo space should be. Tie-downs that do not match standard freight patterns. Containers arranged with almost unnatural uniformity without the usual mix of scuffs, gaps, and irregular wear seen on working cargo ships. This vessel was built to look ordinary. It was never meant to be looked at closely. A final message is transmitted. Unidentified vessel, you are directed to slow and prepare for inspection. For the first time, movement appears on deck. Figures step out near the bridge wing. Hesitant, delayed. No response is sent. No clear compliance is given, but the ship slows anyway. Not because it chooses to, because it has to. Speed drops in uneven steps. 19 knots, 17. The wake shortens. The bow settles lower as engine power comes back under control. This is not a confident stop. It is the end of momentum. The destroyer closest to the bow adjusts once more, angling just enough to shape the stop. The movement is subtle, practiced, and controlled. Close enough to command the space, far enough to avoid contact or confusion. Then the vessel's engines fall to idle. Around it, the ocean suddenly feels wide, still, and empty. Launch boarding teams. Rigid hull boats are lowered smoothly into the water. There is no rush, no shouting. Every movement is deliberate, rehearsed, and recorded. The teams move with clean efficiency. Gear checked, cameras active, procedures followed step by step. This is not a display, it is protocol. The boats spread out and approach from controlled angles. Not directly from behind, where wake and blind spots can hide last-second movement. Not straight from the bow. They come from the sides, where visibility is better and reaction time belongs to the approaching teams. The vessel's crew watches them arrive. There is no panic now, no attempt to run. Whatever plan existed ended when the engines could no longer carry it. Lines are thrown, ladders are secured. Boarding, boarding, boarding! The first team steps onto the deck. Equipment stays low. Hands stay controlled. Every instruction is calm, clear, and repeated in 2 languages. This time, the response is immediate. Hands stay visible. No resistance, no sudden movements. The crew understands that the moment to act has already passed. The first sweep is quick and controlled. Bridge, engine room, crew quarters. Nothing theatrical, nothing chaotic. Just quiet spaces, tense faces, and the lingering smell of machinery that has been pushed too hard for too long. Then the team reaches the cargo area. The hatch opens. What waits below does not match the documents. False walls, sealed bundles protected against moisture, layers of plastic, burlap, and tape packed with the kind of precision that does not come from a first attempt. This was organized, practiced, repeated before. One package is open for confirmation. Inside are tightly compressed blocks wrapped in heavy material, marked and weighted, prepared to last through weeks at sea without falling apart. No one on the team needs to ask what they are looking at. They have seen this pattern before. A message goes back over the radio. Contraband confirmed, large quantity. Back inside the operations center, the vessel's status changes again. It is no longer just a runner. It is no longer only a contact of interest. Now it is evidence. The crew is seated on deck under watch. No one argues. No one offers a convincing explanation. They do not have to. The cargo speaks clearly enough. Above them, the helicopter makes another slow circle, recording the entire scene from the air. Not for attention, not for show, for the record. Every angle is captured. Every movement is time-stamped. Every detail becomes part of the case. This is how work is done at sea. Not with noise, but with discipline. As the sun rises higher, the carrier group returns to its steady rhythm. The carrier continues on course. The escorts hold formation. The Caribbean looks calm again, almost untouched. But behind them, the vessel that tried to outrun the screen now sits motionless in the water, and what it carried is no longer moving anywhere. Securing the ship is not the end of the operation. It is where the real work begins. On deck, the vessel's crew remains seated in a line, watched closely. Their hands are secured. Their eyes stay forward. There are no speeches now, no protests, no sudden explanations. They understand the situation clearly. Distance from shore. Recorded course changes, jurisdiction, evidence already documented. There is no route left. Below deck, the boarding team moves through the cargo space with slow precision. Every bundle is photographed before it is touched. Angles are documented, layers are noted, markings are recorded. This is not a dramatic scene. It is a careful inventory. One package after another is brought up. Heavy, dense, uniform. They are placed in clean rows on the destroyer's deck beneath the hard sunlight. No cheering, no celebration, only numbers being written down, weights being checked, and seals being inspected. By the time the count is complete, the estimate is clear. Roughly $198 million in prohibited cargo by estimated market value. No one on deck reacts to the number. The sailors have learned not to. Out here, scale is just another line in the report. Whether the number is small or enormous, the procedure does not change. Chain of custody begins immediately. Each bundle is tagged, logged, and photographed again. Serial numbers are assigned. Cameras capture every handoff. Every signature is checked twice. This evidence is not just going into a file. It is meant to stand up later, and that leaves no room for shortcuts. The crew is processed next. Names recorded, nationalities confirmed, statements offered, then declined. No pressure, no long conversation. That comes later, on land, with the proper officials. At sea, the mission is simple. Secure the vessel, protect the record, and preserve the evidence. Then the ship itself is searched from bow to stern. Hidden spaces, reinforced sections, false floors built with precision. This was not thrown together at the last minute. It was engineered. A floating container designed for a single purpose, moving restricted cargo without drawing attention. The boarding officer notices the workmanship almost in passing. The hidden spaces are too clean, too precise, too carefully planned. Whoever built this vessel understood exactly what the assignment required. That kind of preparation does not point to amateurs. It points to organized networks that depend on timing, reliability, and silence. Back aboard the carrier, operations continue almost as if nothing unusual has happened. Aircraft move through their cycles, deck crews stay at work, radar watches remain steady. The seizure does not pause the mission, it does not change the schedule. And that is the point. The carrier group is not out here simply to chase suspicious vessels. It is here to operate, to maintain presence, and to control the space around it. Events like this are often the result of that presence, not the main reason for it. But the effect travels far beyond the ocean. Somewhere inland, a plan begins to fall apart. A delivery window closes. Expected payments do not arrive. Confidence breaks down. And in networks built on trust, timing, and pressure, confidence can take months to build and only seconds to lose. A shipment this large is not just about money. It is influence. It is funding for crews, protection, transport, future routes, and the next operation already waiting in line. When it disappears, the impact moves through the entire chain. Routes change, people get nervous, decisions are rushed, and rushed decisions create mistakes. The seized vessel is now under tow, moving toward a handoff point where federal authorities will take custody. Its voyage is finished. Its original destination no longer matters. For the sailors who stopped it, there is no grand speech waiting at the end of the day. No celebration, no dramatic moment, just reports, time, position, result. Another entry in the log. On deck, the bundles are covered, secured, and kept under watch. No personal photos, no souvenirs, nothing treated like a trophy. Because the job is not about the discovery, it is about the disruption. As the sun begins to fall, the carrier continues through open water, leaving a long white wake behind it. The sea looks almost exactly the way it did that morning. Calm, bright, silent. But somewhere beyond the horizon, a much larger system has just felt the loss. Calm, empty, indifferent. But beneath that still surface, something has changed. A route has been exposed, a corridor has been marked, a message has been delivered without a single public word. You do not have to follow every ship across the ocean. You only have to be in position when the wrong one decides to move. There is no announcement when it ends, no broadcast, no statement prepared on the bridge. The carrier does not slow. The escort ships do not break formation. The ocean absorbs the moment the way it absorbs everything else, quietly. The seized vessel fades from the radar picture, already handed off beyond the horizon, reduced to a closed track number and an archived entry. What remains is one line in the logbook and a missing delivery that will never reach its destination. $198 million. Not in cash, not in headlines. In cargo that is no longer moving. That figure does not echo across the flight deck. It does not change the rhythm of the watch. No one repeats it for effect. Numbers like that are for analysts, investigators, and courtrooms later. At sea, the result is measured differently. It is measured by what no longer happens. Somewhere far from this stretch of water, a plan begins to fail. A timeline breaks apart. Calls go unanswered. People who expected certainty are forced to improvise. And improvisation is where networks begin to crack. Back aboard the carrier, the day continues. Aircraft return. Deck crews reset. The cycle resumes with mechanical precision. From a distance, nothing about the strike group suggests that anything has changed. That is intentional. The strongest message is not noise. It is continuity. The ship that tried to escape was not stopped through spectacle. It was not turned into a display. It was simply denied options until stopping became the only one left. That is how presence works. Not by controlling every mile of ocean, but by making certain decisions impossible once they happen close enough to matter. This is not treated like a victory lap. For the sailors involved, it is a completed task. A runner identified, intent established, interdiction carried out, evidence preserved. Then back to the mission. The sea looks the same as it did at first light. Flat, blue, and deceptively empty. At the edges of the radar screen, ordinary shipping resumes. Vessels move along ordinary routes, unaware that one corridor has just been quietly rewritten. That is how these moments work. The people who feel the impact are not here to watch it happen. They are the ones recalculating routes, replacing crews, explaining losses to people who do not like explanations. They are the ones learning that speed does not always mean escape, and distance does not always mean safety. Because out here, the ocean does not belong to whoever moves fastest. It belongs to whoever controls the moment. As movement settles and the operation closes, the carrier group continues north. Its sensors sweep wide across open water. Contacts appear and disappear. Most pass without a second look. A few earn attention. Only one chose to run. And that choice cost more than money. It revealed a method, a route, and a confidence that did not survive daylight. By nightfall, the carrier's wake stretches long and unbroken behind it. There is no marker showing where it happened. No sign left on the water. Just the sea closing over itself, erasing the trace of motion. But the absence remains. One less delivery. One less success story passed up the chain. One more reminder that not every confrontation ends with something visible. Sometimes the message is much simpler. You can move quietly. You can plan carefully. You can even get close. But if you choose to run in the wrong place, the ocean will remember exactly where you made that choice.